I am so glad that you are with a friend or maybe by yourself, but you're doing the study. That's the main thing. Our small group study, it really does matter. And I hope that you have your life connected with others in order to talk about these messages that we bring you every weekend. Because application with real people is where learning occurs. Head knowledge won't do it. If you read a manual about how to fly an airplane and that's all you do, it doesn't mean you know how to fly an airplane, does it? So today, I want to just give you some insight as to what we're talking about, why, and maybe a couple tips that will make your group and your discussions a little more meaningful. Paul is a giant of a man, not physically, but spiritually. This guy had an amazing conversion. He's authored a lot of the New Testament. He's traveled with Barnabas. They've planted churches. They've experienced tremendous success, and no doubt they are close friends. But John Mark is in this story, and John Mark is a point of contention for Paul. When they were in Pamphylia, John Mark had some type of a situation that caused him to leave Paul and Barnabas. Most scholars believe that he got homesick. There was no real compelling reason, but he just wanted to go home, and he left them. And it was an important role that he had in helping them travel with the things they were carrying and taking with them. So it did leave them to suffer a little bit, and Paul didn't want to take John Mark to this next trip, and so Paul says, no, John Mark's not going, and Barnabas says, yeah, he is. You know, he is Barnabas's nephew, and I think Barnabas is trying to develop him and help him, and I love that about Barnabas, you know, son of encouragement. He's known for being an encourager. I think I'd like to be known for that too. I hope you would as well. But it created a conflict. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about and talk about in your group today, what are some of the conflicts that you see people hang up on? You don't have to make this personal and tell them, you know, your gutted story of the worst conflict you've ever had. You can if you want. But just in a general sense, why don't you just throw out the top 5 things that you think people have the most conflict about? What would be on that list? And then examine your life and say, how am I with that? And then another thing to ponder is, how much debris do you have in your life? Bonnie and I were on a trip a few years ago where a hurricane had come through the area, and the debris coming in the ocean from all the trees that had fallen in the rivers and come out, it was everywhere. I mean, it was like hundreds of yards of broken down trees and debris. It was so ugly. The pretty beach just became gross. And I think that's what happens in our lives sometimes, is what God meant to be beautiful gets filled with debris and hurt and challenge, and I don't know what to do with that conflict and that mean thing they said to me, and I get insecure, and then I fight back. And so ask some questions. And as you wrap up, here's the big question I want you to consider. What makes people hold a grudge? Well, it's just my personality. I just can't let it go. Well, maybe today you should talk about that. Maybe this would be a good setting for you to kind of unwind some things in your life and go back and say, I need to change. And then pray for one another. When you pray for one another today, and I hope you will and you do, please don't be afraid to be vulnerable to say, I have a tendency toward this part. I'm more of a Paul, or I'm more of a Barnabas, and neither are completely right or wrong. But pray for one another and be strengthened, because God wants to use every gift He gave you, and you're wired perfectly for the tasks that He wants you to do. Not someone else's job, yours. So do it well. Thank you. Have a great time. Bye-bye.